Hey guys, welcome to Answers with Austin, where I get to interview dope, awesome people making an impact in our community. And I'm here with Mr. Steve Lamotte, the lead pastor of Ave United Methodist Church here in Milford.
That's right.
Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no problem, Austin. Good to be here,
Thank you.
Glad you could have me.
Hey, me too. So, head pastor of a church, that's got to be interesting.
It is interesting. It's a wide-ranging job in ministry. I think a lot of people get into pastoring because they felt called and they've had their life impacted by God and through faith in some ways. But by the time you come to a church like Avenue, there's so much more to it. And the leadership end really has to get developed because it is a business in one sense, because there's a lot of money, there's a lot of people to organize and to get around. So it's a new experience.
Kind of like being like a CEO,
kind of. And there is that CEO model of pastoring where you're a leader of leaders and you're a leader of an organization. And it sometimes chafes at why you got into ministry in the first place, because you want to be with people, you want to spend time, you want to develop faith, but at the other side you've got to lead the organization as well, and they don't always line up, or some of the principles don't always line up.
Interesting.
Secular or leadership models versus like what we might read in the Bible, and trying to justify the two and figure out how to make it work the best.
Kind of make a balance between it all.
No, but it's good.
Definitely. See, so it kind of seems like, when you jump into ministry, that kind of thing, you want to make an impact.
Yeah.
That's a big goal. And then as you transition, if you were to be into a pastoral role, especially at lead pastoral role, it kind of becomes more, you got to find another way to make an impact. Yeah. It's not necessarily the same when you first started now 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah, so one of the big things now is we have a staff at Avenue, and so in my role as lead pastor, I see myself as a leader of leaders, where prior I was at a small church up in Dover that was a new church start. I was the only staff person. We had like one other part-time staff person. And so really I was the leader of the congregation. Here I have to realize if I'm going to do my job well, I have to be able to lead my leadership team well. I have to pour into them so that they can lead well. So I really try to put my emphasis in about 10 to 20 people, as well as my communication on Sunday morning, so that those 10 to 20 people then can reach out to 10 to 20 people.
That makes sense.
And that way we can multiply our reach and our impact. And then my other main role, leader of leaders, and then my other main role I feel is the main communicator, and communicate the vision, communicate the message on Sunday morning.
Gotcha.
So that's really kind of how I figure out how to do that, for better or for worse. I've been in it a year and a half, and of course we've been in pandemic time.
Yeah,
so
it's even completely different. Congratulations to who you are. Oh, and now you got to deal with COVID.
We were just making subtraction at about 8 months in last year. We got to March of last year, and then everything changed. The world changed.
So how has that affected Avenue and your operations? What are you guys doing different, better?
It's caused us to pull back on everything. Like just about everywhere else, the first knee-jerk reaction last year was we had to stop, shut down, and then figure out, well, what's most important that we do. And for us as a church, it was Sunday morning worship services. So we were still teaching through there. We were still gathering for worship just online, like a lot of places were doing. But then as we've progressed through the pandemic, and now we're looking at how can we continue to help connect to people. And so we've been mobilizing our members to connect with shut-ins, to connect with those that weren't able to get out, making sure that food's getting delivered, medications are getting delivered. We've been really active in helping in the community with rent bills and electric bills, and through the generosity of a lot of people, we've been able to help out quite a bit this year, more than we have in the past, because that's been a huge need. We've been looking at those ways. Now that we're almost a year in, we're really now looking at how do we re-engage in a new way. So we're reevaluating everything that we've done over the last few years, really, and saying what's most important for us to keep doing, and then what are some things that either need to change or need to go away, and then what are some new things that we need to do to be more effective coming out of the pandemic.
This craziness that we're in.
The craziness.
Obviously, COVID's kind of changed us all, no matter what happens, right?
Yeah.
How we do business, how we engage with each other. Zoom's a huge thing now because of that.
Yeah.
So what is that, if there's one thing you can say that you or Avenue's going to kind of take forward moving into 2021 post-COVID, or, whatever normality of COVID is right now, what's that thing?
Yeah, I think the thing, I'll say two things. One is flexibility. And for Avenue's 250 plus years old. Yeah. And flexibility is not always something that marks the church anyway. It takes a long time to get through everyone's preferences and committees and
baby
things
steps.
like that. Yeah, baby steps sometimes. The Titanic doesn't turn on a dime. But the flexibility to be able to say, to adapt, we had online giving going. Avenue didn't have this beforehand, but we instituted it just before the pandemic hit. We were able to get streaming technology installed just before the pandemic hit as well. So we weren't as far ahead as some churches were. I mean, realizing people have been doing online giving for a long time, but having the flexibility to do that. I think the other thing is, for me anyway, was just being able to personally come back from that and learning from it was the need for margin in my life, and being able to make sure there is a level of healthiness there. And I think that's been the blessing of the pandemic.
I agree, actually.
For those that were able to, because for me, I never get to go to church with my family. I'm always up front. I'm always the one talking, for better or for worse. And because we were recording on Thursdays, on Sunday mornings, I got to hang out with my kids and worship at home with them. And so I was making them homemade donuts on Sunday morning, and cinnamon rolls, and they thought it was the greatest thing. So did I, but I never get that. And so that the pandemic kind of afforded us as a family, and me as an individual, just that margin to be, I think, healthier through it.
Agree.
Actually. I know others have struggled, and I don't want to minimize that, but for me personally, it's been a good 10 months.
I think that's one thing that a lot of people tend to ignore. And I think we talked about this the other day, is having that kind of you time, right? Focusing on yourself, enjoying life, enjoying the individual moments, instead of stressing nonstop, running back and forth from work to school to kids, this, that, and the other. Because when you do that, I mean, you're crazy stressed. You don't know your left from your right, and now you're trying to sleep, and now you're stressed, and now you can't sleep. I think COVID's kind of given everybody that wake-up call, I wish I could have 3 months off of work, or I wish I could just stay at home. Here we are. You had that finally. Now use that to kind of catapult yourself forward.
Within the Christian tradition, and really the Jewish tradition too, there's an idea of Sabbath. And Sabbath in the tradition, for Christians it was Sunday, and the Jewish tradition was sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. And it was a day of rest, and it was a day to worship God. It was a day to not do any work. And because of these lovely things, we're always connected. I know you get sales calls and offers and things, and I remember seeing on your Facebook page you were on vacation somewhere and had to get a call to close a deal. You're always on, and I think COVID has helped us see the need a little bit more, that we need that downtime. And whether we call it Sabbath and we connect it to our faith, whether it's me time, however we call that, our bodies need it, our minds need it, our spirits need it as well too.
Desperately. Because I mean, and I don't want to repeat myself again and again, but I think that's just so important. We kind of think we're like robots sometimes, and with computers we keep going. You can't keep going. This is still a body at the end of the day, and it needs rest, it needs nutrition, it needs the things in order to power itself.
The caffeine only sustains me for so long.
I can agree with that one. I barely had any today, and I'm like, it's 2-3 o'clock. I'm a little tired now.
Time for some more.
See if I can wake up a little bit, stay awake. But that's cool. So for you personally, what was your desire to say, hey, I want to jump in to ministry? Was there a one instance, or was it a gradual thing, a bunch of things?
So a little bit of my leading up, my parents were always in church. They took my sister and I to church all the time. So it was something I saw my mom and dad, my grandparents live that out in their life, their faith. So that always stuck with me. By the time I was a 6th grader, I had a pastor. We were Methodist church. We get pastors moved around, a small church. My pastor there in the youth ministry that we were part of, small town, 250 people in the town. But he poured into us as teenagers like we were real people.
Wow.
We weren't just to be seen and not heard. He taught us
respected
about
you guys.
Cared
about your input. You didn't
he treated us like an adult as best as you could, like a 13-year-old. And really made faith real to me, and made Jesus and God's love real to me. And so even though I'd been brought up in the church and really did believe that, that really, he personified that to me and made real God's love to me and Jesus' sacrifice through the cross. And so not only did I give my life to Christ then, I said, I want to do this too, because of the difference. I saw the difference it made in me. I had my own challenges. It didn't, my teenage years were not perfect. They were not.
Everybody's had their struggles.
Everything
ups and downs.
If you struggled with it as a teen, I struggled with it too, even though I was trying to live out my faith. And, I struggled with depression and even at some point some suicidal ideations and stuff because of what I'd gone through in my life. But it was my pastor and my friends who were part of the youth group and the church that really helped to keep my faith alive and in some sense keep me alive too. And so when I always felt this call through there that if you will, that God was speaking to me and calling me that, hey, you've been set aside for this. And so I went to college to pursue the ministry, and through all that whole experience, I just felt that God continually affirmed and confirmed, this is what you're going to do. And working at the youth group at Avenue for 9 years, and then going into the church in doing a lead pastoring up in Dover. And I find so much joy in it. It can be maddeningly frustrating sometimes. There's a saying in ministry, it'd be really easy if it weren't for the people. But we got in it for the people and to help share Christ and to help people through crisis. And so I find a lot of life-giving moments in the midst of funerals and dealing with people in their lowest times, because even in those lowest times, we find that God's still there. And,
there's a positive aspect.
Yeah.
You just got to look for it.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the role of a pastor, is helping people see that that God is for them. God's not against them. God's not, bringing stuff, even especially the pandemic. People have lots of questions like, is this God's punishment? And so we constantly go back and look at scriptures like, God loves you. That's why God sent Jesus. And that's why I do what I do. And that's been a huge blessing in my life.
That's good. And that head pastor that kind of, helped raise you through that, him treating you like a human, treating you as an adult, respecting you, definitely seemed to help. But you'd said one thing, how as a kid, obviously you had your own struggles. And I think a lot of people as a whole, and especially in America, they struggle with this ideology of perfectionism. I have to be good, or I'm not this, or if I can't reach this limit, I'm not doing this, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve happiness. But and that's a struggle that a lot of people have, and obviously that's something that the church is trying to help educate people with and kind of move forward. Is there a way you found to kind of educate them, communicate with them that idea that you don't have to be perfect, that life struggles, there are issues, but that's okay?
I think it comes down to understanding a couple things. One, that we tend to be broken people. We do have our areas where we struggle with and habitually go back to addictions or things that are bad habits and things like that, and then finding ways to overcome them, whether they're through therapy, whether they're through creating new good habits. From a faith perspective, within the Christian context, in our context, it's that it's not about a to-do list of trying to be perfect by following a list. It's about a relationship with Jesus that then we experience this perfect love from God that allows us to say, you know what, I may be not all that I want to be, or maybe not all that people think I should be, but that God loves me the way I am. And because of that love, I can live into or work to be the person God's created me to be. In early in the Bible, in Genesis, God created humanity, and God said, it's very good. And I think God looks at us in that same way and loves us in unconditionally, the way we are, and invites us to come along in that journey. And so to me, when we talk about people and we're not quite self-help, but we say the same way, like God loves you, and there's a better way to live. There's a better way to, if God loves you, then there's a better way to come through life, and we do that together in community.
I agree. There has to be that love, right? That genuine care for somebody else at the end of the day. And obviously through the church, that is a huge message put forward through it. And giving is a huge aspect of the church too. Moving through into 2021, is there something that Avenue's looking to do, like giving wise, loving back in the community? Is there a specific project or plan or thought?
We're really...
He's like, let me count actually.
Well, I mean, there's lots of ways that we'd like to. One of the challenges is trying to reorganize through the pandemic, because part of our leadership team or part of our church, like a lot of churches, some are staying home, some are out and about, and so trying to figure that all out with Zoom and everything else makes it always interesting. Really where we're looking at re-engaging over the next few months is with our children's and families ministries, and being able to provide something both for our church but for the community that where they can not only grow in their faith but grow with one another. And that's That's the great thing about living in community. If you're single and you go to a bar or someplace else, you hang out with your friends. When you become parents, it's infinitely harder to find that time to go places and hang out with friends. And so church can be a place where that happens because you have so many affinities between men, women, and children in there. So that's one way. We continue to look at ways to serve Milford with financial help for starters. I think we were talking the other day about the housing market and the rental market, and we've been really keen on understanding that until it got extended, that people could have been evicted, mass evictions in the early January. We had some giving through the church that made us ready to help out if that happened, and we've been able to help out in other ways. Thankfully, that bill's been the date's been kicked down the road a little bit.
Breathing room.
Yeah, and so that's another way. Avenue continues to open up with like Code Purple and working with the homeless in the community as well. That's been good, and we want to continue seeing that. And that's been exciting because we reevaluate that every year with the Code Purple organization. And with COVID and everything else, I think there were some places that were hesitant about opening up with that.
100%.
Our leadership was like, no, we need to do it, because if we don't do it,
who is? It's still a problem. Something still has to happen.
Someone still has to open. It's always a challenge to get volunteers for it, but if nothing else, we can open the building. And we were able to get volunteers for
awesome.
it. Love Inc. and Nikki with Code Purple did a great job with that. And so, we make our facilities available, but which is probably the easiest way to do it. It doesn't require much, but we're going to continue to look in those ways and how we can grow in the way we serve and Milford and the people here.
That's awesome. So one thing I want to talk about, this is something we had mentioned before, and obviously we can go into more detail about this after the show, but it's social media, especially social media when it comes to the church. So right off the bat, if there was one question you had for me right now on how the church can utilize social media, what might that be?
I think the biggest thing is finding how to connecting with adults, young adults, students, youth, whoever, that are able to help utilize it more. Because again, it comes from a time frame. Like I use it, not to the extent that you do, Austin. You're a master at it. So
maybe not quite.
Well, you're
got the
pretty
red
close.
belt, almost the black belt.
You've got a nice following on there, and so I haven't figured out TikTok or anything like that. My daughter kind of does those things, and you and your air fryer love is good.
It's real, man. It's real.
That's good.
Somebody's got to love me.
But I think that's it's not going away. I think there's a lot of drawbacks to social media, and we've seen that in this last election cycle. But it's not going away. And in the same way, I think you've utilized it in the real estate market. I think churches are utilizing it in ministry and connecting with people as well.
100%.
In creative ways, and that's good. Have a lot of fun. And we've done some of that. But again, if I want to do something, I've got to come up with, the video and the equipment and the time and the editing or whatever it might be. And so I think it's how do you create that ability to do that sort of thing with the people that you already have.
Implementing it there. I think that's a struggle a lot of businesses have, being in real estate and being part of several coaching programs. A lot of people either say, hey, I don't want to do video because I don't know how. So they're living in denial. They don't want to deal with social media. I just, screw it. It's over there. It's not my problem. Which, cool, but you're missing a whole avenue.
Right. Absolutely.
You can't play on words there.
Nice.
But at the same time, what I've realized is once you have a game plan and you can make a game plan, it's executable. It's just, what do I need to do and how to do it? And it's those resources that people are like, well, I don't know. Because I don't know, I'm not going to do it. When realistically, pretty much everything I do on social media, for the most part, not everything, but like 80%, it's all planned out. It's scheduled. There's a calendar there. Absolutely. We're shooting content right now. It's in my calendar. So I'm not like, oh, what am I going to do on a Monday afternoon or a Friday evening? Like you have it planned, so there's no thinking about it. You just adjust your content to whatever it is you're trying to make happen at the end of the day. So
I think, and that's great because I know I've used a content calendar for like blogging and stuff like that. And social media, and we've tried to do things where on particular days of the week we make different posts on Facebook or whatnot. But it still comes down to like in that lead pastoral and everything else I'm doing.
It's all on you now. You deal with it.
I don't have a 3-camera setup with nice lights and everything else and someone to help with it. So finding the resources to utilize the planning out. We talked about margin, but it takes margin too. Right?
It does take margin
because if you're too busy, you can't be creative, and that's where. I've done some videos at my previous church kind of on my own, or hired out like a videographer to help out. And but yeah, if you don't have the margin to be creative or to script out something, or at least to frame out an idea, then it becomes really hard to do that.
It is. And I'll say is from that creative aspect, there's a solid 6 months that the last 6 months, up until about probably a month or two ago, I was exhausted. Yeah. Content creation, like I stopped posting a lot on TikTok, a lot of original content on Instagram and Facebook. Like I don't know what to come up with. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm dealing with some negativity. Like I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
So you have to have that margin, because if not, you're gonna hate what you do.
Yeah.
And if you hate what you do, whether it's in your personal life, your professional life, you're not gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm sure your videos, like, if it's just one more thing you have to do, and or your social media post or anything in business or ministry or whatever, if it's just one more thing, it's not gonna last very long.
You're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it, and you know how that goes.
You gotta have fun and have someone throw pancakes at you or whatever.
Wow, that escalated really quickly.
Yeah.
I don't remember this. If this is memory, I don't remember this, and hopefully that's a good thing.
I'm not sure what you had thrown at you on your air fryer episode.
Don't give Sean ideas. We're shooting Fun Friday tonight. He's like, Austin, we're making pancakes,
that's good.
And we're going to throw it at your face.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep, there we go. So I always ask everybody this one question, and as a lead pastor, you're kind of in that CEO role, entrepreneurship kind of role.
Yeah.
If there was one piece of advice you were going to give a young business owner, young entrepreneur, somebody trying to make strides for their life, what is that one piece of advice you give them?
Yeah. The biggest advice I'd give is you got to find someone older than you that can mentor or coach you, and that you can have that can encourage you on the way, because there's always going to be bumps. You just mentioned negativity.
Yep.
Like, there's always going to be negative people in your life, and you've got to have someone that you can cry on their shoulder if you need to cry, someone that's going to celebrate with you, someone that's going to walk with you along there. And I think entrepreneurs, you do things, you make your own path sometimes. You're a trailblazer, but you still need someone to come alongside and say, hey, this is what I've learned, or
100%,
or this is how you get financing, or this is where you find money, or this is where
it's a great resource.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing, and that's been the thing that's helped me is having great mentors in ministry, in life, great mentors when it comes to parenting and being a husband and a dad and all that good stuff.
So you've had more than one mentor in your life.
Absolutely.
And for different areas of your life.
Yeah. I think in different phases of my life, I've had different mentors. Like my pastor as a teenager was, he was great for me. When by the time I got into in college, I did an internship for youth ministry out in Illinois, and Hal Hamilton, the youth pastor out there, he was a mentor for me. I spent 3 months out there. I lived with him and his family.
Oh wow!
I saw how he did ministry, but I also saw how he was an amazing husband. I saw he was an amazing dad, and we still keep in contact today.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then my clergy mentor, when I came through working towards ordination in the Methodist Church, he's one of my best friends now, and so we get together weekly still. To encourage one another, to talk about the Orioles and the Pirates and how bad they are. But we talk about like faith and life and everything else like that too. And we just generally encourage each other. Hopefully, it's gone from I'm learning from him that we learn from each other, and now we're friends as well. And we're just enjoying the journey together. So I think that's the beauty of mentoring. And so like in the church, so that I try to turn that around is, I'm looking for people that are like 10 years younger than me to hopefully to look at mentoring as well too, because just as my pastor brought me up as a teenager, like I can look at someone that is in their 20s or in their early 30s and say, hey, here's how you be a good Christian dad. Here's how you be a Christian husband. Here's how you work in ministry and stuff. So that's been a role I take pretty seriously.
That advisement, wanting to give back again, finding another way to make an impact.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can give. I can't give a lot of money, but people can give a lot of money. People can give other stuff, but I think relationally, that's the place important. Where it feels good. I feel like you get the most out of it too, because you see someone that grows, but then if it's a real good mentoring relationship, like I may be mentoring you, let's say, at some point you're going to start giving to me. And you're going to start
100%.
Me as well.
It's a give and take 1,000%.
Yeah.
No matter what way you look at it, somebody's always going to know something better than you, even if they're 20 years younger. The brand new kid on the movie set is going to know something that director of 40 years just hasn't seen or doesn't understand yet. No, agree.
Yeah, that's important. So I learned a lot. I've mentored some people through the ordination process, and it's been interesting to just even seeing things through their view, because I'm 42, and which sounds really old, but now
you're like, I feel like I'm a 20-year-old.
Well, because I tell people I've been doing this for 20 years now. then I have to start.
Kind of hits you.
Yeah, it does hit. It hurts a little bit too, but in the reality, like when I start mentoring some of the people that are younger than me through there, like I realize at 42, I'm stuck in my ways sometimes on certain things, and so someone that's younger is able to show me a different way of doing it or thinking, and I'm like, oh, wow.
Makes sense.
Thanks, millennials.
You did this to me. Thanks, you.
Gen Z.
Well, if it hurts you at all, 10 years ago, I was a senior in high school.
Yeah. Thanks, Austin.
You're welcome. I'm here for you.
I thought I'll talk with your video folks.
Yeah,
I've got
please.
some pictures of you in our church files. I bet
I'm sure this one will tell.
Fun for the social media feed.
Sean, you don't need to see that. Trust me. Neither do you, Naomi.
Sean, why don't you give me your email address afterwards?
He'll take care of you. He'll be like, I'll pick it up if it's a physical copy. I don't care. I want it right now. That's awesome though.
10 years ago, huh?
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, I feel old. So
10 years ago, I was still older than you are now. So.
Ooh, that hits you a little harder than it hits me.
That still hurts. Yeah, it's all good.
I can do one better. And it was in college.
No, yeah, I remember seeing Noah. He walked into the church. I don't know. It was before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I got looking at him like,
whoa, you're big.
He got a lot taller too.
He got a lot taller, definitely. I don't know if he's gonna get taller than me, but he's at my height. Yeah. I look at him and I'm just like, you were like this little. You were like on the little doggy leash because you'd run around everywhere. I remember those days.
Yeah.
And it all happens crazy fast in a blink of an eye.
Well, and that's been the fun part about coming back to Milford after being gone for 9 years is seeing like you now at 28 and the business that you're running here and the way you're trying to give back to the community as well. And then seeing your brother, and things like that. That's just crazy because kids that were 9 are now heading to college. When I was here before.
They're elementary school kids.
Yeah. And I see some kids, and I'm like, oh, are you in like 9th grade now or 10th grade? And they're like, yeah, I'm a college freshman.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Remember those days?
Yeah. So
that's funny. Yep. That's good. It's been awesome. I know that was a thing a lot of people talked about when you first came back. Is it must have been a huge change for you coming back from Avenue, literally like a decade later.
It was pretty wild. It was good in the sense that you knew people coming in and you'd recognize people. Yeah. But then it was because some people still remember me as the youth pastor. Yeah. And so sometimes that's good or bad.
It's like, give and take. It's both.
Yeah.
Still got the same energy though.
Right.
Definitely put that in there.
I hope so.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Austin.
I absolutely love the fact that you were running Avenue. You're doing such a huge thing for them and for the Milford community. So if anybody in Milford especially, if you're looking for a church home, you're looking for a way to make an impact, or you need any resources, Avenue is definitely your spot to go.
Give us a call.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate you.
Man. Thanks, Austin.